And in this next video, we're going to take the opportunity to move beyond the ages of school years from the 6 to 11 and move into that magical age of adolescence and explore all of the marvelous opportunities that this population gives us.
This is the story of Sees No Danger, a young bear just on the edge of adulthood. She was the youngest of many cubs born to her mother. Compared to her older brothers and sisters, she was small and very thin. As a young cub, Sees No Danger had been clumsy and awkward. She had a sweet face with small black eyes and a short nose that was turned up at the end. Her front paws turned in a bit more than usual. Her teeth were crooked and did not meet each other at the front as they should. As her name implied, Sees No Danger was fearless. She was always poking her nose into bushes, beehives, and getting stuck in high trees. Her mother told her over and over what was safe and what was not safe, but Sees No Danger never seemed to learn. She attended forest school with all the other young animals. However, while they learned to read and write, Sees No Danger never seemed to make any progress. She became fidgety, frustrated, and had difficulty paying attention, became easily confused, and often intruded into what the other animals were doing. After much struggling, Sees No Danger did learn to read and spell easy words. She could add and subtract small numbers, but she never quite grasped multiplication, division, or fractions. Deer, the head teacher, saw how Sees No Danger struggled to learn. She and Mother Bear both agreed to have Sees No Danger enter into special classes for children with learning disabilities. Despite this, Sees No Danger fell further behind. Finally, being very frustrated, she began refusing to attend school. Much to her mother's dismay, the teen bear also started staying away from home at night. Often she found Sees No Danger walking down logging roads, right out where humans could see her. One summer day, her mother caught her near the road to town.
"Where do you think you're going, Missy? Don't you know how risky it is for you to be out in the open like this? What are you thinking?"
"I'm just taking a walk. Besides, what does it matter? I have no friends, everyone laughs at me, I'm no good at games, and I hate school."
Sees No Danger, I know life has been hard for you at times.
"That's what you always say, Mom, but let's face it, I have no father, no friends, and I'm lonely."
Honey, you do have a father. He lives on the far side of the hill and comes every fall. I've told you often that it is the nature of bears to mate and for the mothers to raise their cubs alone.
Mother Bear was frustrated, sad, and surprised. She tried to be a good mother, but it wasn't working with this daughter the way it had with her other cubs. Somehow this child was different. Even as a baby, Sees No Danger was a fussy eater and had a hard time sleeping.
Sees No Danger, I see that you are sad and lonely. I need to find a way to help you. I'm going to take you to stay with your brother for a while. I'll return for you when I have some answers.
Sure, I'd like that. Mom, I don't mean to be so bad. Please don't stop loving me.
Never, my child. You are not bad, and I'll never stop loving you.
Meanwhile, way, way to the north, where the snow falls early and stays late, a similar situation was going on. A mother polar bear was chiding her large adolescent bear named Wanders Afar.
"I have told you over and over, you cannot come to this place for food. It's not safe. Do you see what that human is carrying? It's a rifle. It fires hot metal and it can kill you."
Mother polar bear shook her head in frustration. She loved this big, handsome son of hers, but sometimes his lack of understanding was simply more than she could handle. As the bears walked back to their mountain home, Mother Polar Bear recalled the problems her son had as a child. His stubbornness, his inability to follow directions, his impulsiveness, disobedience, and stealing. She sighed softly and whispered in a low voice to herself.
I wonder, what caused my son to be so careless? What did I do wrong? I raised him as I have raised all my other children. He can be so sweet and happy, but I wish he could hunt and feed himself. I see him stealing food from others and from the trash left by humans. I keep telling him it's not safe, yet he persists in doing dangerous things. He roams day and night. I never know where he is.
When Mother Polar Bear stopped to look back at her son, he was nowhere to be seen.
Wanders afar, where did you go?
Miles away, down south, Sees No Danger and her mother traveled to her brother's den. Mother Bear knew that her son, Stands Proud, would watch over his sister. He also may have some notion as to what made her so sad and caused her so many problems.
Why, hello! Come in, come in! I have lovely fresh berries to share.
After enjoying their tasty snack, Mother Bear leaned back and began telling her son the story.
Stands Proud, you are my oldest child. I know you have studied our forest world and listened to the birds, fish, small animals, and insects. You are familiar with your sister's struggles. I have come for your help.
Goodness, Mother, you are so serious. What can I do?
First, tell me if you have any idea as to why your sister is so sad and careless and has such a hard time learning. Next, I need someone for your sister to talk to teach her what I have not been able to. And, well, the last thing, can your sister stay with you while I seek out the answers I need and the help she needs?
Oh, yes. Please, please, can I stay? It will be so fun. We can climb trees and go swimming and eat honey.
Stop, little sister. Why, of course you can stay. But fall and winter are coming fast. I'm working hard to gather food to make my den snug for the cold time ahead. You can help. Mother, I have something you should see.
Sees No Danger frowned at the idea of working. Mother Bear sighed. She knew it was pointless to say much. Sees No Danger's corner of her den was often a mess. Cleaning up was the last thing she ever wanted to do. Stands Proud reached behind the stone and retrieved a book titled Fetal Alcohol Syndrome.
Mother, I believe that my youngest sister has this condition.
Mother Bear looked up at her son, bewildered.
Daughter, please go outside and take care not to wander off. I hear the nuthatches and chickadees calling. Please, go see what they have to say.
Fine. Have your secrets. I'll have mine.
Oh, I wish I knew what to do. Now, son, tell me what this is about.
I will tell you what I know. Do you remember the year when it was so wet in the spring and so hot in the summer? The year Sees No Danger was conceived?
Why, yes, of course I do. It was the year your father came over to our mountain early. We used to go to the farm and eat ourselves silly on those half-rotten grapes. Yes, I remember. But what does that have to do with your sister and this book?
See how these pictures resemble my sister? I know that there was alcohol in those grapes that you and Father loved to eat. I remember, dear Mother, that for several weeks you and he went to the farm every day. From what I've read, I believe that the alcohol in those grapes damaged my sister's brain. That is why when she was little, she had such a small, thin body and little eyes, and such a hard time learning.
Oh, no. What have I done? Oh, my poor little girl. Oh, no.
Come, Mother. You are not to blame. You did not know. I have heard that Dr. Raven has a healing circle and a whole team of helpers that can give us more information. We'll go as a family, so we can all learn.
Mother Bear nodded in agreement as she wiped her tears away. When they went to look for Seasonal Danger, she was nowhere to be found.
Seasonal danger! Seasonal danger. Oh, how could I ever get mad at her? It's not her fault.
2 weeks passed. No one in the community had seen or heard from Seasonal Danger. To the north, Mother Polar Bear faced the same fear. It seemed as if both of these precious children had vanished from the face of the earth. All that could be done was to send word out through the animal community and wait and pray. On the 14th day, late in the afternoon, Stan's Proud came for his mother.
Mother, Dr. Raven and his team of helpers are waiting for us. Please, bring your photo album and come with me.
As the two bears came into the clearing, Dr. Raven rose and walked over to greet them.
Welcome, Mother Bear. Your son has told us of your plight. Come, sit down. Let us talk. But first, let me introduce the team.
The first to enter the circle was Owl, the psychologist. Owl's job was to help Mother Bear understand how her daughter's brain might have been hurt by alcohol. Owl asked many questions about Bear's family life, problems, and successes they had with Seasonal Danger. She also asked Mother Bear about her feelings concerning her daughter's condition. Owl's helper, Rabbit, came next. Rabbit's job was to test the children to find out their strengths and skills and to measure what they had learned so far. The third helper was Kingfisher. Kingfisher listened to speech patterns. From this he could understand how people learned, how their brains worked, and what types of help they would need to understand their everyday world. Another helper was Deer, the head teacher from the forest school. What the animals learned at school could also be reinforced at home. This way, teachers and parents worked together to help the children.
Tell us your story. We will try to help.
Mother Bear sighed as she told of her daughter's struggles. She spoke of the learning problems and how she endangered herself and her lack of understanding of cause and effect. Mother Bear also told them that despite her daughter's young age, she had been sexually active, even when she was not in season. When Mother Bear finished, Dr. Raven sat quietly for a moment. Then he stood up and shook his feathers.
Your story is so common for the adolescent animals we see in our clinic. We have looked at the pictures you brought in of your daughter. It appears that she does have fetal alcohol syndrome. As soon as she returns, we will need you to bring her in so we can examine her in person.
Oh, I feel so ashamed of what I did to my daughter. So ashamed.
Mother Bear, it is clear that you love your daughter. Keep educating yourself. Learn what you can. We will help. But remember, you did not know what could happen when you ate the grapes. We will work with you to help your daughter. We have to work together as family and as a community to stop fetal alcohol syndrome from happening and to provide support to all those impacted by these conditions.
Mother Bear was extremely distraught over her daughter's long disappearance. Finally, after months of this depression, Coyote and her son paid her a visit. With his gentle and honest manner, Stan's Proud told his mother of their concern.
Mother, you are not eating nor preparing for the upcoming winter. Harming yourself will not bring your daughter back home. It is not your fault that she left. You know she was always impulsive and had a difficult time understanding the consequences of her actions. It is time for you, Mother dear, to come back to this world.
Mother Bear, who had wept as her son spoke, wiped her tears and nodded in agreement.
Yes, my son. You are right.
As they began to leave, Mother Bear continued.
You know, while I've been here fretting, I've been thinking of starting a support group for parents whose children have the same conditions as your sister. I would like to tell Dr. Raven.
Dr. Raven and his team liked Mother Bear's idea and arranged for the parent support meetings to be held in a nearby forest glade. The first meetings were well attended by many animal families. Raven smiled as Coyote rose and walked to where Mother Bear sat. He held out his paw to her.
This is a time and space for all of you parents to share your fears, successes, and hopes. Mother Bear, you have just finished having time in our healing circle. Could you start?
Mother Bear stood, took a deep breath, and then began telling her story. As she finished, many of the other parents had tears in their eyes. One by one, each told their story. At the end of the evening, Coyote rose again.
Grandfather, I ask your blessings on all who have come tonight. I ask for many more evenings of sharing and hope. Thank you for our little ones and not so little ones who have been lights in our life. We hope it's been helpful. We will meet during the next full moon. Thank you all for coming. Wait, Mother Bear, I think Grandfather has heard your prayers. Look.
As Mother Bear looked up, she started to cry, for standing at the entrance of the glade was her daughter. Next to her was a large, handsome white bear with a big smile. At their side was a tiny cub, brown with odd white stripes.
Mom, I'm home. Look, I have a mate and a beautiful child all my own. Isn't it wonderful?
Oh, yes, dear. Yes, yes.
Enjoy the homecoming.
Time had passed since Mother Bear had been reunited with her daughter. Sees No Danger and her mate, Wanders Afar, were still together and living with their cub. All had not gone well, however. A serious problem had occurred involving several of the forest community's youngsters. Some of the young bears, coyotes, and wolves joined together and entered the yards of human houses. A pack of humans with guns, dogs, and sticks chased these youngsters home. Golden One, a young cougar, had been shot and hurt as she and other youngsters tried to escape. A tribunal was held to discuss these concerns. It discovered that some of the young ones with less ability to make good decisions, those with learning problems, and those easily influenced, were being coaxed by others into making these dangerous trips. These youngsters and their parents were called to attend a meeting. A council of animals had come up with solutions to ensure the safety of their young ones. Now Bison, the magistrate, addressed the group.
The forest elders, Dr. Raven and his team, and the families have met and discussed the issues and needs of each of these children, along with the needs of the community. Every full moon, the children you see here and their families will meet with their probation officer and social worker to see what progress is being made. In 6 months' time, we will all meet again to report to the community.
We must work together to give our youngsters constant support and supervision.
Several days after the tribunal, Mother Bear's den saw the arrival of visitors. Father Polar Bear spoke up.
We got word through Crow that our son was here. We heard about the trouble he was in, and we want to help him.
Thank you for looking after our son. I feel so guilty for not helping him in the right way all those years. I never dreamed that the mash left on the beach by humans had alcohol in it, and when I ate it, it harmed my unborn baby.
Yes, before we only saw our son from the outside. Now we understand the damage can be inside the brain, not always where it is seen.
Bison took a deep sigh as the polar bear finished speaking.
Sees No Danger and Wanders Afar, it is time we made plans for where you are going to live, how you are going to take care of yourselves and your son, and how to keep you out of trouble. We have a list of requirements that you two must meet. Our job as your elders is to help protect you, support you, and to aid you in being your best.
Sees No Danger and Wanders Afar were silent as Coyote read the list. After Coyote had finished, Sees No Danger spoke up in an angry voice.
That is so unfair. Why don't the other kids have to do these things?
Oh, daughter, remember what we talked about? It is not your concern what happens with the others. Our job is to help you and your mate do well. Now pay attention.
Sees no danger, this is your chance to have a good life.
Throughout that afternoon, the elders and parents talked to their children. They helped set up a structured environment and developed a schedule for their children to follow. The two bears were given community service jobs of picking up litter left by humans along the forest trails. As time went on, both young bears had some successes and some failures. Without constant monitoring, structure, and prompting, they would forget to do their jobs. Sometimes both young bears wanted to be with their friends rather than take care of their baby. Sometimes they fought, broke up, and then got back together again. When Wanders Afar broke his probation by stealing food from the hunter's camp, the council came up with an appropriate sentence: house arrest with an ankle bracelet to monitor his whereabouts. He still was required to attend school, go to work, and meet with his probation officer. However, he was not allowed contact with the adolescents who tended to influence him in negative directions. Their behavior often frustrated their parents. However, through standing by each other and calling on the support of other parents and family members in their group, they learned to be more patient and to set more realistic expectations. Mother Bear made sure that Sees No Danger received her birth control shot every 3 months. This helped ensure that she did not have any more children. Heron helped arrange respite care for the bear families. One night, a year after their adolescent children had been back in their care, the bear parents sat outside Stan Proud's den. They watched as their grandson, now nearly 2 years old, play with his dad. Sees No Danger laughed as she watched.
It sure has been a long journey to this point. I wonder what is to come.
Despite the difficulties of the past year, there had been many successes. None of the adults present doubted there were more struggles ahead. What was different now, though, was the knowledge and the hope that had come through the healing circle, the parent support group, and the participation of the whole community in keeping the special ones, such as Wanders Afar and Sees No Danger, safe. Coyote, who had been sitting quietly nearby, smiled and said a silent prayer of thanks to Grandfather, our Creator, for all the creatures in the forest. He knew that it was love and hope, along with common sense and structure, that would help all the special souls with fetal alcohol syndrome and fetal alcohol-related conditions, as well as their families. So, it is time for us to smile, be grateful, and watch over the special ones placed in our care. If this becomes too heavy a load, remember to ask for help from your family, friends, others in the community, and from the Creator. No load is too heavy when it is shared with love.
You know, Julie, watching the story of Sees No Danger just makes me realize again how important early intervention is in the lives of our children and our families. If Sees No Danger had been diagnosed earlier and not waiting until she was a teenager, so many of the problems she had in school might have been avoided, problems with the family, socialization, all of these things. I think it's just a real reminder that early intervention and diagnosis is extremely important to our kids.
Right. Did you have a question?
Yes. Are there still children that fall through the cracks and don't get a diagnosis until they're adolescents?
Yes. In thinking about just my own experience of being a foster parent now for 11 years, I'm an adoptive mom of a number of children. And I started taking children to the clinic 10 years ago. seeking diagnoses and help for services and interventions for those children. And after having taken 10 kids there, I became the family advocate actually on that team. And each time I brought a child into that clinic, I would go home and I would remember and think about my own years as a teenager and the amount of drinking that I did at that point in time. And I would think about my oldest daughter, my oldest birth daughter, and pull out her pictures and realize that, you know, she looked just like these other children. She was just blonde-haired and blue-eyed, but she looked exactly like them. Thinking about all of the issues and difficulties that she had in school, with relationships, with money, with time, you know, all of those things that, all of those questions that as a team member we asked the caregivers about. And so it was finally 5 years ago that I asked my daughter at that point if she would be interested and willing to go into the clinic as a client and to have an assessment done. And at the age of 25, she was given the diagnosis of fetal alcohol syndrome. So of my 8 children with fetal alcohol syndrome or related conditions, one of them is my own biological daughter. And I think that, you know, I think about that, you know, here's somebody I had been in this field for a long time. I was part of the diagnostic team, for heaven's sakes. And I had brought numerous children into that clinic. And yet the amount, and at that point I had 16 years of sobriety. I mean, I have 22 years right now in recovery. And it just reinforced to me the strength of denial, the parts of the rationalization and the denial that's part of the disease, and how difficult that it was for me at that point. I had a great support system. You know, I had a wonderful family. I had, you know, that team itself. And it was very difficult for me to realize and to accept the guilt and the shame that came along with that diagnosis. That, you know, of the people that my drinking had harmed, the person that it had harmed the most was my own child. And I think that that's a barrier, you know, for parents taking and bringing their children into that clinic. It's their own, you know, concern and sake of you know, the denial of their disease. But yeah, these kids fall through the system, you know, lack of education, lack of supports and services, and it does still happen. But yet, like what Carolyn said, there's a huge difference in, you know, if there is early diagnosis and there is early interventions, I think that we have a much better chance of preventing than secondary disabilities and supporting those, you know, people, the family, to being as successful as they can possibly be.
Did you have a question?
Yes. Do the parents of fetal alcohol syndrome and effects have any specific profile?
You know, that is such an important question, and one that was asked early on in the clinic, because if we could see something that the women, the parents had in common, we could help people. We could make that a prevention focus. But when they looked back over 10 years of talking with clients and doing profiles on birth mothers, they found the 2 common denominators were some sort of abuse in their past and at least one mental health issue. Now, today, in the day of Prozac, I have to say that that's not an unusual situation for any woman to be in. So it seems to cross all barriers, color line, socioeconomic barriers, education. Anyone can produce a child with fetal alcohol syndrome if they use alcohol during pregnancy.
And I think that that's something that's important for all of us as parents, too, to remember when we're talking about second, third generation now of alcohol-affected individuals. And I look at the children, you know, that I'm taking care of. I'm concerned about, you know, their future. I'm concerned about, you know, the issues of mental health or their own substance abuse and the risks that come along with that and preventing those things.